you've heard of Occam's razor, right? The simplest solution is usually the correct solution. But then you've also got another one called Hanlon's razor, which is never subscribe to conspiracy, that which can be explained with idiocy. So you can almost always, when you consider the outcome of something, you look at it and say, could it have been a conspiracy? But then you also have to look at it and ask yourself, like, could it just be incompetence? What happened in Afghanistan is a fantastic example of Hanlon's razor in motion. There was a great deal of incompetence. How few troops were there, how poorly it was organized, how often politics put precedence or took precedence over military action over the course of 20 years.
Sure.
Right? So you have to bake that in as well. Was there foreign influence? Without a doubt, there was foreign influence. But how that foreign influence played out is important. There's very little foreign influence that actually goes directly into the White House or directly into DOD. We have pretty strong firewalls built personally, physically, digitally, that keep foreign influence out. They still get in, right? There's still hacks, there's still violations, there's still breaches. But for the most part, we can protect government officials in the senior levels against foreign influence.
Including the President of the United States.
Including the President of the United States. Right? When the president is a traditional president, when they're groomed by the party, right? Donald Trump is a completely different animal because he was never groomed by a party, right? He's truly an independent thinker, independent action taker, very unpredictable guy.
And so is Kamala Harris right now, right?
Because she was never voted for by the American people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's exclusively groomed.
Right.
So she's also an animal unlike anything we've seen before. In fact, the one time she did have a chance to be nominated and to win, to even participate in the primary, she failed.
Yeah,
she lost
2% or something.
So my point here is foreign influence is difficult to get into the White House. But where foreign influence is so effective is in the advisories, the advisory councils, the civilians, the donors, the lobbyists that all feed up into politics. That's where it's super dangerous. If you just do a Google search over 2024, how many arrests for illegal foreign agents, right? An illegal foreign agent means an American citizen who's collaborating with a foreign government illegally. They haven't documented the relationship. They haven't documented any kind of cooperation, but that American citizen has the ability to influence politics. There have been almost a half dozen arrests. That's just arrests. 2024. That means there's probably another 2 to 3 times as many that are active investigations. And then there's probably another 3 to 5 times as many that haven't been discovered yet.
Right.
And that's so important because that's how the foreign influence happens. Because some Turkish person is friends with the mayor in New York, which just happened. Mayor Eric Adams was arrested because he was on the payroll of the Turkish government, right? The same thing happened in New Jersey in 2003 with Senator Menendez, who was on the payroll for Egypt. Right? These are individuals who are in a position of politics, who are acting on the best interest of foreign nationals who are paying them. And it's nefarious, it's illegal, it's all the bad stuff you expect it to be, but it continues to happen because those people are not as well insulated, protected, or trained as your senior administrators. So that's where your foreign influence really comes from. And it's so insidious because it's not the kind of person anybody would suspect to be an interest. Like, who would have guessed that a senator in New Jersey is of interest to Egypt? Who would have guessed that the mayor of New York is of interest to Turkey, right? Who would have guessed that Turkey, who's an ally, would be operating against the United States? Well, that just kind of shows how mainstream media doesn't really talk about the things that we need to understand, right? Mainstream media is more focused on the Kardashians than on Turkish influence operations.
Yeah. With Afghanistan currently in the state it's in, and we could go down a whole rabbit trail with this. I mean, Sarah Adams and I talked about the up to $40 to $87 million a week going to the Taliban. Al Qaeda is now went from originally I think 2 Al Qaeda training camps to 52 Al Qaeda training camps. We're giving this cash to, first of all, sanctioned people. Is going to sanction people so cash should never go to them. 4 of them in FBI's top 10 most wanted list, which is insane to me. Another one is the Bin Laden family. That's cash is going to the house that is holding 3 American prisoners. So with all that stuff, with the United States taxpayer dollars continuing to fund, I don't know how familiar you are with the Doha Agreement, but one, I believe that's in violation of the Doha Agreement. And what's the danger of, I mean, this Afghanistan is just an example. What's the danger of the United States taxpayer dollar funding, a country like Afghanistan, knowing that they're in violation of something like the Doha Agreement?
I think this is one of those difficult pills for us to swallow.
Right.
American dollars are used against Americans
Yeah.
all the time. They've been used against us for decades. The real superpower of the United States isn't our military. The real superpower is our financial power.
Yes.
It's our dollar.
It's a leverage, right?
That's exactly right. All war is based on economics, right? Wars that turn out profitable are wars that we continue to engage in. Wars that are not profitable are wars that we step away from. President Zelensky, just yesterday, announced to the British Parliament that he's getting pressure from the West to negotiate with Russia. Mm-hmm. Well, who's the West that he's talking about? He's talking about the United States. He's probably talking about the United States and other parts of NATO who are all saying, hey, it's time to negotiate with Russia. It's time to shut this thing down because it's not profitable to us anymore. Right. For the last 2 or 3 years, we gained profit from this. We tested new weapons. We discovered new capabilities. We were able to say that we defended democracy, but now it's an election year and now we have to spin this thing down. And now the American people aren't really as supportive as they used to be, et cetera, et cetera. So when a war becomes unprofitable, that's our main power is profit. So our money is being used against us in Afghanistan. Our money is being used against us when we send it to Southeast Asia. Our money in Africa is being used against us to fund warlords that hire child soldiers that work against us. Like, this is no surprise, to you and I. Good guys get shot at with bullets that were paid for with American dollars all over the country. The flaw in our approach to being a superpower is that we try to force our will with money, but then we don't track
reward and coercion.
But then we don't track the money after we give it.
Yeah. That's that. We're not following our own protocols, right? We're looking at the reward and coercion, knowing it doesn't work, versus people that are tied to ideology and ego.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. The first people who went into Afghanistan were being shot at with weapons that were given to the Mujahideen. Mm-hmm. American-made weapons. Helicopters were being shot down by rockets that were given to the Afghan people.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing is going to happen again in Ukraine if we're not careful. If we escalate this thing in Ukraine to the place where Americans are getting attacked with American-made weapons that were abandoned on the field in Ukraine, and that's what's so crazy. And the drone technology that gets captured, and it's insane. There are reports now of North Koreans in Russia fighting Ukrainians in the part of Russia that Ukraine invaded. So that means because of the decisions that our administration has made in the last 3 years,
right,
because of the Biden administration, there is a closer relationship between Russia and North Korea than ever before. Mm-hmm. Right? Russia is now trading missile technology and nuclear weapons technology in exchange for ammunition and untrained North Korean soldiers. That exchange would have never happened had we not pursued and supported this conflict in Ukraine as a demonstration of defending democracy. If you read the fine print, Ukraine was never a democracy. Right. It scored like 3 out of 10 on the Democratic Index before Russia ever invaded.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things where we are writing our own demise because we are still executing things the same way that we executed them 20 years ago. We're not moving forward to change our strategy and change our approach and change how we leverage being a superpower. If we don't change it soon, we're not going to be the only superpower for very long.